Hello there, Stevos. Welcome back to Steve's TV wrap-up right here on my YouTube channel. That is SteveOfficial. It's been a while since I last did a TV wrap-up episode for you. I think the last episode I did was way back in November, towards the end of November, going into December last year, obviously when Doctor Who celebrated their 60th anniversary. And just a quick reminder that Doctor Who will be back on TV screens this weekend, Saturday the 11th of May 2024, at around about 6, I think it's 6:20, no, 5 past 6 p.m, I believe, is when Doctor Who is back on BBC One. However, you can watch both the 2-episode premiere on BBC iPlayer from midnight on Saturday morning, 12 a.m. UK time anyway, that is. But in this episode of the TV wrap-up though, as you can see from the poster that is being shown on screen since the start of this video, we are going to be talking about the Netflix original series that is Baby Reindeer. Now, I'm going to be honest with you, this is something that I had seen on the Coming Soon tab for quite a considerable amount of time, but this wasn't something that I was actually going to watch. I mean, I just thought it was just going to be another one of those Netflix originals where you're just like, yeah, whatever, it's there. But I then started to see that people were talking about this series online, and it became more and more popular amongst viewers, and it kind of then started to intrigue me as to, okay, let me give this TV show a go and let me see if I enjoy it. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I didn't do it, like, I didn't binge watch the entire series in a space of a day. I literally watched one episode a day across 7 days, because there's 7 episodes in this series. All episodes, by the way, are streaming on Netflix right now, of course, and they are roughly around about half an hour long, which, to be honest with you, I do think is kind of an appropriate running time. Now, I am going to say this here, that there is a little bit of a trigger warning in this TV wrap-up. Of course, there may be some discussion of sexual assault within this episode of the TV wrap-up, because this series does dive in to that kind of nature. So that's just a little bit of a trigger warning now for any of those who may have been affected by that in the past. But I just want to say though that this series is quite, I'm gonna say, thought-provoking, and at the same time I'm also gonna say that this series is really well done as well. I mean, Richard Gadd is he basically has written this series and created this series as well. And he also stars in it as well as a fictional character called Donnie. Now, Donnie is actually based on Richard Gadd himself, because what happens in Baby Reindeer has actually happened to him in real life. So he basically, in the TV series, he comes across a woman who comes into a pub, which is where he works. He works in a pub, goes into a pub, and she comes in and is crying and is upset, and therefore she sits down and starts talking to him, and he offers her a cup of tea, but she doesn't pay for it though, because, as they say in pubs, it's on the house, which means it's free. And ever since then, it just then, you know, she then starts talking to him, like, almost on every single shift or should I say on every shift that he's at this pub, she's there talking to him. The woman's name in question, by the way, is called Martha, which again is a fictionalized character. The person that was stalking Richard Gadd in real life isn't called Martha. But by the way, I am going to say this for legal reasons. I'm not going to go into who the name is. I'm not going to openly say who the person is. There are theories online as to who the person is and stuff like that. But for legal reasons, I'm not going to exactly point out and name who that person actually is or could potentially be. But what I will say, though, is, you know, this Martha character in the show basically gets to the point where she's basically ruining Donnie's life. And I don't just mean, like, in terms of his workplace. She manages to get hold of his email address because he wants to become a comedian. And, well, admittedly, you know, the character of Donnie isn't a great comedian, you know, but he is starting off as a comedian whilst working at a pub. And, you know, and we do, at some point during the series, we do delve into the backstory of Donnie, which I think is great. And I do think that episode in particular is played out really well, despite the fact that there are some really disturbing and very uncomfortable scenes. Even they were quite hard scenes to watch, which again, it does involve sexual abuse, which Donnie goes through and stuff like that. And, you know, I think we just basically kind of get a little bit of a backstory of Donnie himself, the character of Donnie himself, and all the abuse that he's been through in the past and stuff like that. And, you know, what that abuse did to him mentally, how it affected him afterwards, and what path that took him down. So, you know, it was kind of interesting to see those scenes kind of play out, but at the same time, they were quite uncomfortable scenes to watch at the same time, you know. So, yeah, but, I mean, to be honest though, like, you know, there's Martha, you know, she's there constantly following Donnie around the pub while he's there collecting, like, empty glasses and talking to him and stuff like that. You know, some of his, like, bar staff or pub workmates, they start taking the mick out of him and stuff because he's constantly around Martha, even though it's unintentional though. Like, he wants to try and, like, separate himself from Martha, but she makes that really incredibly difficult for that to happen. It gets to the point where she ends up sending him loads and loads and loads of emails because he has a website which she's found and it has his email address on it, so therefore she's there sending out all these emails, and she signs them off with "sent from my iPhone," even though she doesn't have an iPhone. There is a theory about that, which an expert did go into, and I did kind of delve into that a little bit. And I think it was to do with the fact that because Martha, the character, she was a lawyer, and, you know, obviously she wanted to keep her professionalism, basically, which I think is why she always signed her emails off with "sent from my iPhone," which is why she does that in the emails that she sends to Donnie. But I mean, it's not just his workplace, his emails that she's getting into. She's outside his house. There's even at some point during the series where she ends up being in his house. Obviously she's following him back to his house, or following him on his journey home from work late at night as well, when he's finished at the pub. There's even times where she's sitting in the audience in like some of his comedy shows that he's doing as well, and like shouting out abuse and stuff like that. It's really interesting, and obviously we do get a little bit of a deeper dive into Donnie's love life as well. So obviously we see that he's living with his ex-partner's mum, and there is a little bit of a backstory to that as well in the series, which I'm not going to dive into too much. But also as well, we do see that he's also dating a transgender as well, a transgender woman who he found on a transgender dating site. So we also get to see that side of things as well. Now, again, I do think that that is portrayed in a really good way as well. So, yeah, I do think, to be honest, Richard Gadd, Jessica Gunning, I think her name is, who plays Martha, I think I think both of those characters in this show are standout performances, because I do think they portray the characters of Donnie and Martha, respectively, really, really well. And like I said at the start of this review, this wasn't actually a TV series that I was actually kind of anticipating in watching, but because it had so much online buzz around it, it kind of made me want to go and watch it, and I did. And I think because of how heavy some of the themes are within the TV series, I think I'm kind of glad that I didn't do a binge watch within an entire day. I think I'm glad that I just did the one episode a day kind of strategy. And for some people that might work, for other people's they might want to binge watch it, but I think there's gonna get to a certain point where you might want to stop. And that's okay. You might want to stop. That's okay. And then continue it maybe a little bit later on, a couple of hours later, or like maybe a couple of days later, because there is like I said, a specific episode within this series which is quite uncomfortable. It is hard to watch, especially when it is involving some of the themes that are involved in that episode, and it is Donnie's backstory as well. But yeah, it is still a decent TV series. It is probably one of, so far, I'm going to say, we're only in May 2024 at the time of filming this TV wrap-up, and so far this is probably up there as like one of my top 10 TV shows that have come out in 2024, which I have enjoyed watching, and and it is great. I do recommend it. And what's really funny as well is despite the fact that I've actually now watched the entire series, I finished watching the entire series a couple of weeks ago, but when I met up with my friend Kim last week, and we were walking to the Harvester together, she actually said to me herself that some of her work colleagues were talking to her about Baby Reindeer, and she's actually now gone off and watched the TV series herself. So, and she only got a few episodes in, so I kind of had to be careful as to what I said, and without spoiling things. But in all seriousness though, if you've not yet checked out Baby Reindeer, then this is definitely a TV series that I do recommend people should go and watch. So Baby Reindeer, for those wondering, is available to watch now over on Netflix. Definitely do give it a watch, that's for sure. But anyway, that is all from me for this episode of the TV wrap-up. I hope you guys enjoyed my review. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment in the comment section down below. Have you guys watched Baby Reindeer? If so, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. And as always, If you like what you see and you're new around here, feel free to hit that subscribe button down below to become a Stevo. Now, your next YouTube video will be out tomorrow, which is Thursday the 9th of May 2024, and that's going to be released at 4 PM UK time. I'm going to be talking about the recent Apple event where they dive into the latest iPads that have been announced, including a brand new iPad Pro. So that video will be out tomorrow, Thursday the 9th of May 2024 at 4 PM UK time. Of course, the TV wrap-ups will be back a little bit later on in May, once I've watched a few more TV series and caught up with some new TV series on streaming. But from me though, for now, it's goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys again in my next YouTube video.